Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and stay tuned by clicking the bell icon. This is the most surprising romance in Heartstopper Season 2. Netflix's Heartstopper features such diverse identities, romances and relationships, and Season 2 of the show expands on its already varied cast. With new characters to love or hate and blossoming relationships to follow, Heartstopper's unique flavor brings queer joy to each household. The show has already proved in Season 1 that they are unlike most queer films and shows, setting themselves apart by retaining a wholesome and chaste atmosphere that is accessible to younger audiences. But they also give a deft wink to older audiences, particularly embracing the many who were not able to express their sexual identity until they were older and hence missed out on those early teenage queer experiences. This season, once again, reminds us that Heartstopper is out to celebrate love, encompassing a wide array of experiences, including ones that hit us out of the blue. Each couple in Heartstopper has their own quirky charm, and the charm of one particular relationship was the element of surprise. When we are first introduced to Mr. Farouk Nematalikani as a stern, inflexible, and grim-tempered teacher, we assumed he's just there to discipline the students and become another minor obstacle in Charlie, Joe Locke, and Nick's, Kit Connor, ability to see each other. What we didn't expect was the insane chemistry between him and Mr. Ajayi, the Sayoakinade. Already establishing himself as the student's best friend, kind of teacher, Mr. Ajayi could not be further down the scale personality-wise from Mr. Farouk. But alas, opposites do indeed attract. The combination of the awkward, inexperienced, stoic character coupled with the extroverted, optimistic, friendly one is a timeless one, and certainly works in this case. Mr. Farouk's seemingly unassuming entrance mixed with their polar characteristics feeds into the unexpectedness of their romance. In fact, the only early indication we get is at the beginning of their bus trip to Paris, where Mr. Farouk silences the rowdy group of teenagers and Mr. Ajayi gives him a smirk-like side-eye that can be easily missed. I personally started praying for them to be together at this point, but thought my hopes were a tad too outrageous. I'm glad Heartstopper proved me wrong. So when Mr. Ajayi begins divulging his queer teenage escapades to Mr. Farouk, who responds by revealing he didn't fully realize his sexual identity until later in life, it is difficult to refrain from gasping with shock and silently screaming with joy. Mr. Farouk's and Mr. Ajayi's brief subplot, which only really earns a few minutes in every episode, not only plays with the idea that teachers have lives outside of school too, but also emphasizes that love comes in all different forms. The show is completely committed to ensuring all their characters and relationships are dynamic, and is able to achieve that with Mr. Farouk and Mr. Ajayi, despite their limited screen time. Amid all the flourishing teenage romance, having one between adults was also refreshing given that the stakes, challenges, and interactions are entirely different. Yet there is still a distinct teenage-like quality to this romance. From the tender way Mr. Ajayi treats Mr. Farouk to the nervous excitement he feels when being goaded into texting Mr. Farouk to help chaperone the prom in the season finale, the romance is far more wholesome than most queer adult romances in the film industry. Even the fact that their first kiss is facilitated by the classic only one-bed romance trope serves to further render innocence to the couple. After one of the students drunkenly vomits on Mr. Ajayi's bed, Mr. Farouk absent-mindedly suggests that they could share his, leading to a palpable heart-racing moment of silence before the quiet kiss. As such, it's worth noting that traditionally, queer adult films have been dominated by nudity, drugs, and violence. Not only does this isolate younger queer audiences, but it also renders queerness as inherently sexual and sensual, rather than just pure innocent romance. TV shows that do feature high school queer romances, like Adam, Connor Swindells, and Eric Ncuti Gatwa, in Sex Education, or Rue Zendaya and Jules Hunter Schafer in Euphoria, ultimately have their romances shrouded in adult themes that are inaccessible to some. Heartstopper's more chaste and innocent viewpoint on this queer adult relationship is exactly what the queer community needed. The delicateness of this relationship welcomes older members of the queer community, particularly those with a similar experience to Mr. Farouk's. This seemingly random subplot is relatively significant to Heartstopper's central message that love is love and that everyone deserves it, even the teacher you always complain about. While Heartstopper Season 1 primarily focused on the budding romance between Nick and Charlie, Season 2 delves into darker storylines revolving around each character. This includes Charlie's struggle with anxiety and disordered eating, Nick's concerns about coming out, Yasmin Finney, and Tao's William Go, tumultuous tradition from friendship to relationship, Isaac's, Toby Donovan, insecurities about his asexuality, and Darcy's, Kizzy Edgell, darker home life. Even Ben, Sebastian Croft, Charlie's ex-boyfriend, is present in Season 2, seemingly just to stir unnecessary drama and further aggravate Charlie's mental health. Aside from the charming little romantic moments that are adorned with playful graphic lines and symbols, Heartstopper also showcases the harsher realities for members of the LGBTQ+ community. This is also true for Mr. Farouk's brief backstory, where he wasn't able to explore his sexuality until he was older and thus believed love had already passed him. Yet by highlighting the romance instead, Heartstopper emphasizes that wholesome romantic moments are not limited by time. But most importantly, with all the drama going on in each of the relationships, having such a pure and simple romance grounded the audience and reminded us what the show was really about, appreciating heart-stopping moments. Because you would quite literally have to be heartless for yours not to skip a beat every time this couple appeared on screen. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share.